I guess what we have these days is what you might call a crisis driven generation, in that so many now find themselves in a form of a or crisis, a large crisis. Either way you look at it, they're in crisis. So, kind of a crisis generation. And this having a way of snowballing into a great smash, and people might clock up all kinds of scenarios coming out of this, these crises that we now face. Many clocking up an end time generation, many clocking up a new world order, many clocking up a third world war, and many clocking up an economic breakdown, many clocking up the reality that who are you going to turn to, who are you going to listen to, because our leaders are failing us. So this being the situation, and you could definitely clock up that we are now living in a crisis-driven time period. So where do you go? Who do you turn to? What happens then if you feel you can't trust in the leadership? And interesting words on this subject are in writings here that you might call scriptures, if you like, words written thousands of years ago. So we have James, he was actually the brother of Jesus. He grew up with Jesus. Now he's saying in this chapter here, chapter 3 of James, my brethren, be not many masters. Now he's talking to the many masters of the, let's say, even back then, of course, James grew up with Jesus and therefore came from the children of Israel. And so he's talking to the many masters, and of course James was now Christian, and this brought him in opposition even to his own people being the children of Israel. And so he's talking to the many masters, the many leadership, the leadership of his day. And of course he sees a crisis here, and this is a part of the great crisis that we now have, in that we don't know who to listen to. Who are the many masters? There's many masters out there. There's masters in the political field. There's masters in the economic. There's masters in the various groups, gatherings, churches. So the many, many masters, let's say, he's talking to the many masters. All of these words are actually written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. So we're wondering just who do we listen to? Where do we go to? Who can we trust anymore? Relationships are breaking down. Communities are breaking down. Governments and nations are breaking down. And communication's breaking down. Communication ain't so reliable and effective anymore. Courtesy and politeness, it's all breaking down. The moral standards are breaking down. So again, we have crisis. And we have governments coming in and going out, rising and falling, elections in America, France, wherever you look, there's elections and leaders coming in and out, and all promising solutions to the great crises that we now face. So the many, many masters, and this is part of a major part of the problem. Just who can we trust? Now, to be one of the many masters is dangerous, because there's a spiritual implication here. And of course, James, being the brother of Jesus, is talking the spiritual implications of the same can even be grave. And so he's saying, my brethren, be not many masters. In other words, many aspire to be one of the great masters, one of the great leaders, that people would come to you, come to your political party, come to your church gathering, come to your politics, and hang upon your every word. But more and more we find that we are so let down, not only by the words, but the deeds of these many, many, many masters, many now aspiring to masters more than they ever did. It was just because you have the internet and many platforms on here with many, many, many more masters now resulting from this crisis, now putting forward their various solutions to the same. So solutions political, solutions economical, and solutions spiritual. Just who do you listen to? Solutions regarding relationships and psychological problems or whatever they are. We now have many masters. Just who do you listen to? Well, here's James. Now he's obviously grown up with Jesus, so he's obviously acquired quite a lot of wisdom in growing up with Jesus. No doubt this had a great influence on his life. In fact, Jesus grew up with children in Mary's family, being eight or more. You read the scriptures carefully, you might clock up that Jesus grew up in a small family with Mary, Joseph, and there was Jesus. But actually, there was 8 children in Jesus' family. So Jesus grew up just like many do here, in a poor family, and no doubt understood all the ins and outs of the problems we all face. And we have again problems regarding the breakdown in families and family life. Many families falling apart and being scattered and having no one to turn to, fathers running off and leaving their children, marriages breaking up, and adultery running rampant. And so all of the values that once made societies great are now all falling apart. So again, it all largely boils down to the many masters. You could even regard your parents as being the many masters. And if your parents let you down, if your best friend lets you down, if a good man lets you down, well, where do you flee? Where do you go? Now, this is simply to sum up the problems that we now face with the many masters, and what should we look to in looking to a good master, a good leader, a good mother, a good father, master just simply being a word, and that covers all, let's say. So, my brethren, be not many masters. So he's kind of advising people, look, you want to be one of the many masters, right? This is what you're taking on. Knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. So if you're one of the many masters and you say and do the wrong things, you're going to let down thousands of people. You want thousands of people to hang upon your every word, and you let them down with just a few short words, then you're going to influence the whole group gathering or even whole nation of people. So he's saying, be not many masters. He's advising, look, you want to be one of the many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. The condemnation here is the great consequences of getting it wrong that are going to come from God. For in many things we offend all. Well, who can honestly say we don't offend in many things? We're so human. Every one of us is so human, and can we keep our promises? We might promise to do this, that, and the other, 1,000 other things, circumstances being. But what if those circumstances change? We might see or do other or say other, and therefore we're so full of fault. So who can be one of the many masters? We're so human. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word... Now, can you offend not in word? You don't know always the music that's in your words. We don't know the tone. Sometimes on the internet here, people could say things in writing, in print. We don't always know the tone. So it's a case of your words can carry quite a lot. There's quite a lot in a word. In that, what are your aspirations? What are your views? What are your feelings? What are your motivations in speaking those words? Where's it all coming from? Is it coming from your heart or your mind? Is it coming from those that say it's coming from the spiritual? Is it really coming from the spiritual? Or is it coming from your own carnal imagination? So it's a case of what's in those words. You could say a few short words and it can change such a lot. This is what he's saying here. So in other words, you want to be one of the many masters. Well, how are you are you good at controlling your tongue and your words? For in many things we offend all, we're so human. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man and able to bridle the whole body. So the whole body here is like the groups, gatherings of believers, those even, let's say, on your platform. Are you careful with your words?